Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will be seeing how to integrate Redux with our React frontend. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Before we start coding, we need to install two dependencies. So open up your terminal and write npm install Redux and React Redux. So Redux is a independent library which you can use with most of the JavaScript frameworks. But to bind that library with React particular applications, we need React Redux library also. Once it is installed, we'll go to source and we need a new folder which will have all our Redux related data. And inside Redux, we'll have three files as of now. One is action.js, which will store all the actions. Then reducer, which will hold our reducer. And lastly, we need is a store. The store is the actual place where everything will be combined. Our reducers will be combined and our data will be bound to the reducer. So this is the basic folder structure. And one more thing that we need to do is we need to wrap this app around a provider. So provider is nothing but the so you can see it imported from React Redux. So it is particular for React Redux applications. So provider is nothing but it will bind the whole application to the store. So your store will be applicable or available throughout this application. So it takes a parameter called store that we'll assign later or in some time, because we need to create a store and we need to create the actions and all those things. So let's see how to do that. So let's first start by configuring our action.js. So in actions, we will have all our functions to basically update and do any other function on the your data store. So any update, delete, or any other process that you need to do on your data needs to be written here. So how do you write that? That's what we will see. So first of all, each and every action will be exported. So to do that, just write export const, as it's a constant function, it won't change. So the first function that we will be seeing will be how to update or how to initialize the to-dos. So as soon as you log in, the to-do should be initialized. So to do that, we need to first create an action, then we need to add that to reducer and then to the store, and finally the store will be added to the app. So let's see how to do that. So the function that I'll create is init to-dos, and what it will pass is all the to-dos that we get from our fetch API, and rather than this we'll put underscore so that we know that it is part of the parameters, not part of the body, as the name of the body will also be to-dos. So we'll return the type. So each action will be of a particular type, so that there is a one-on-one mapping to the function and to the type of the reducer that it needs to match. You will understand as we write the reducer. So for us, the type will be init to-dos. That means we are initializing the to-dos. Then we'll send the to-dos, and which will be to-dos. Just put a comma here and save it. That's it. That's all you need to do in action for a particular function. Similarly, we'll create few more functions. Now we come to reducer. So in reducer, first of all, what you need to do is you need to basically export everything that you have done in reducer. So your main action will happen in reducer. So how do we do that is we create export default. It will have two parameters, that one will be state and the other will be the action. this action will be provided by this action. This action is same as what we are doing here. Whatever we are returning is the action here. So it's basically this action.js itself. So for each function, this particular reducer will be called, and based on the type, the function will be mapped. So we'll have a switch case, and the switch case will be on action, not this, will be action dot type that we defined earlier. Inside switch we'll have a case, and the case will be init to-dos or to-do, init to-dos. So for this particular case, what we want to do is we want to simply return, or we can just write it here, return the to-dos. We'll just return the action, or rather than doing that way, we'll use a library which will make everything very easy for us to do. So we'll install the library now, and the library is npm install react add-ons update. We'll wait for it to install. So once the library is installed, we'll use it by calling update, and the thing that we want to update is the state, and we want to set the state using set, and what we want to set it to is the action dot to-dos that we received. Then we want to break out of it, and we need to give a default case. So here by default, for the default case, all we want to do is return state, and you can see it has imported the update from React add-ons update. And also one more thing, our initial state will always be an empty array. So that is what we will be assigning here. So our reducer is done for init to-dos. Now it's time to configure the store. It's very simple. All we need to do is export a variable. The variable will be configure store. Basically you can name it anything. I'm just naming it as configure store equal to create store. So we want to create the store, and you can see create store has been imported from Redux, as it is an inbuilt Redux library, not React Redux, so that you can use it with any other framework also. So we are creating the store, and the store is the reducer, and you can see it has imported the reducer from reducer. Now let's save it. Our 3 files are done. Now in index we want to say configure, configure store, and you can see it is configured from the store. So our setup is basically done. Now we need to use it. How do we use it? Let's jump to our to-do file, and here you can see we have a component did mount, and here we used to fetch the to-dos and then set it to user to-dos. Rather than setting it here, we will call this function init to-dos. So let's see how to do that. So first, the thing that we want to do is we want to map our state to the current file that we are using, basically the to-do file, to-do.jsx. From the store we want to map it. So to map all the functions, what we need to do is, first of all, we'll map the state. So we'll map all the states and our functions to the props, not to the state, because the state and everything is being manipulated by the reducer. All we are doing is we are mapping those states to the props. So that's why it's a fixed name that we have to give always, that is map state to props. and it will be state function, and inside this what we will return is nothing but a spread of state. That's it. We are basically returning this. Now the same thing that we need to do for our for our dispatchers. So basically any function in if you want to call any function in our Redux, that the way to do is to call the dispatcher. We do not directly call the function, we rather create a dispatcher which will indirectly call our reducer or our action. So to do that, again const map dispatch to props, and this will again have a function dispatch, a variable dispatch, and what it will return is, or what it will map is, we can give the name init to do's. We'll send to do's from our side underscore just to differentiate, and what it will call is, it will call the dispatch, or it will send a dispatch to what? To the function or to the action, which is nothing but init to do's. You can see this init to do's has been imported from our action. So we are basically dispatching an action. We are not calling a function directly, rather we are dispatching the variable to do's to that init to do's action that we created. So let's just pass it to the to do's, and that's it. That is what you need to do. But it's still not mapped to the to do's. It is still just an independent const map. So how to do that? This is where the React Redux library comes. We need to connect it. We need to connect the Redux to our particular React page. So the way to do is to call connect, and you can see the connect has been imported from React Redux. This is where React Redux comes into picture. Till now everything was Redux, because we need to set a store, and to set a store we just need Redux, not React Redux. React Redux we need is to connect the store to our particular page. So in connect we send map dispatch to props, but there's an order. First we need to map our state to props, and then we need to map our dispatch to props. And this is how we bind it to our file, or to our JSX file, or to our React page using connect. Let's save this. And the final thing that we need to do is, instead of calling this set state, what we will call is now this dot props dot init to do's, and in this dot props, yeah, correct, props is there, init to do's, and what we will send is fetch to do's. Now just to see whether data has been updated or not, after this we'll console.log this dot props dot state. So not state, we'll just log this dot props to see what all functions are there, or what all data is there. So let's save this, start our server, npm start, and let's wait for it to come up. So it has come up. Now let's open our inspect page, console, name is Johnny user, password is password. Let's see and hope it works. Yes, you can see here our init to do's is a function. History is just the history for basically to for the store and everything, but the main thing that we require here is the state. Okay, state doesn't seem to have come here. Okay, I know the issue. We are not actually returning the state that we have updated, we are just updating it. So that is the problem. So what we need to do is to write return update state and remove this break. And let's save it. And now let's test what happens. Like we write Johnny user, password is password. And if we log in, we should see, yeah, you can see, we see to-dos and you can see it has been updated. Now we need to so this is how our Redux store actually works. So what you do is you create an action, you call that action inside your to-do file by mapping it to the props and by mapping it to the state, and then you create a reducer. In the reducer, all your actions will be mapped and the particular actions result will be updated, or it will be done. So if you have any calculation or if you have any logic, you can put it here, but it is better to always put it here because this is where your actual manipulation or data manipulation happens. For a small app like this may seem an overkill, but to be honest, if you are working on a very big app, this is what will save most of your time. You don't have to find states in every file, and you don't have to you don't have to pass, you don't have to create a state somewhere you don't want to. So basically, if you have two siblings for a particular parent and both of the siblings are using the same state, you cannot declare, or you have to declare it into the parent where it won't even be used. So that is one big drawback of using states that way. But for a small app, it is absolutely fine. That is absolutely correct. You can do that. But when you create an application or a higher level app, you need to have states, you need to have a Redux store where you define all your actions and a reducer. Then you map it to the store. Similar to this, as we have only one reducer, you can have multiple reducers, and all the reducers will be mapped in the store. Instead of using create store, all you need to do is you have to use create store, but before creating store, you need to create a const, say a reducer, and that reducer will have combine reducers. In this, you can just pass all your reducers and it will combine. Then this reducer should be passed to the store. So that is how it is done. Let's remove it for now and save it. Now, one more thing is that the correct way to do this is we don't write the actions as a string here. Rather, we create a new file called action types.js, and here we define export const init to-dos, which will be equal to init to-dos. This is the correct way to do it. All you need to do is here then call init to-dos and it will import it from here. So this basically saves you time if to update it both places. Just you need to update it in the action types and it will be updated in action as well as reducer, or as well as if you're using it in some other place. So this is just a format that everyone actually follows. And one more thing, you might have seen here we have it as 0 and 1. Rather than this, we actually want it to be a variable. So how to do that? You can do that in to-dos. Here, rather than just returning ... what you can do is you can say to-dos state, and now if you refresh, I hope it would have worked. Yeah, you can see now our to-do array is created. So now we have separation between the data and the function itself. So all you can do here is this dot props dot to-dos, save it, and you can see here we have just the data that we require. So in next video we will be finishing up our Redux store by creating few more functions similar way that we created today. It will be in the same way, exact same way, only the meaning of the function might change, but the way to do it is absolutely same. So that's it for this video. See you in the next one.